the girls' locker room. I immediately felt like my rights were absolutely stripped from me, like handed over on a silver platter to this 26-year-old guy. Like, if anything, the bathroom should at least be the safest place for any girl to be. Like, of course, a woman, but a girl, a minor. And we don't even have that as children.
Hey, Narrative family, Mike Andrews here. As you know, from time to time, we do cover some sensitive topics here on the podcast. Today is one of those, so just wanted to give you a heads up that not all of the content may be appropriate for little ears, and we encourage you to use your discretion before listening to it with kids in the area. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to a very special episode of the Narrative Podcast. Mike Andrews, David Mahan, and we have in-person guests today. We're welcoming in the Henry family and John, Isabel, Esther. It's so good to have you here in the Narrative Studio. Thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure to be
Thank
here.
It's great to be here. Thanks.
Well, David, this is a family that you've connected with as part of the work around HB 249 and getting the Indecent Exposure Modernization Act passed. So I'm going to let you kick us off here and set the stage for why we're talking to the Henrys today.
It's very interesting that, I was tracking them down, since the beginning of the year. And then when we finally got to be face to face today, when they drove in, come to find out we know each other from years ago. Both Esther and John. And so it's such a blessing to have you all in the studio and to be able to reconnect and to meet you, Isabel. If you could just kind of start us off, guys, like who are the Henry family, is the Henry family, and how do we get to this place today where we're talking about the situation at hand?
Well, I'd say we go back to when we were all going to church together in Columbus, Ohio. I met my wife. And then we were living in Pickerington. We joined the military, went to South Dakota, had Isabel. Then we had Alejandro in South Dakota. Cold, very cold. And we had two big winter babies. Then we ended up at Langley in Virginia and lived a good life there for about 7 years with the kids.
Military.
Yep.
Yeah.
Retired from the military, and we got a truck and trailer and traveled the East Coast for a while.
Wow. And
so having homeschooling the kids, that was fun. It was enjoyable.
It was an adventure.
We skipped winter for 3
Hear that,
years.
babe? Fun for them. I don't know how fun it was for you, but somebody thought it was fun. I'm sorry.
We skipped winter for 3 years in a row, and that changed our life.
Yeah.
And we thought we were going to, move to Ohio, buy a house, and do the homesteading thing.
We said we wanted all 4 seasons.
Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm.
And when winter hit the first time, it was like, oh. And then
Maybe
the
not.
second winter hit, and we were like, oh. And, no, but, we enjoy a little bit of everything.
You settled in the Louisville area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Marlboro Township.
Why'd you settle there after all those places?
We were looking for a little bit of homesteading, a little bit of land, nice farmhouse, a good safe community. And
So you thought?
yeah. And just get involved, get involved with the community and the church and just settle down.
Yeah. So what we're here to discuss today, unfortunately, many of you all who are listening have heard about the Xenia, Ohio situation, where we had an individual, a male, who was naked inside of the bathroom there in Xenia, Ohio, in the presence of young children. We knew this was going on all over, and if it's going on in Xenia, it's got to be going on everywhere, right? And I heard about you all's situation in the Louisville YMCA, very similar situation. And I know you were working with some legal counsel and things like that. And then Senator Timken in your area was the one who recently connected me with you all. And so, give us a little bit of a background of what happened in that YMCA locker room.
Yes.
Well, I'll give step one.
Yeah.
At the beginning, she was getting her
My
lifeguard certification and going through the YMCA to get that. And a big step for her, real excited to be a lifeguard. So the training was set up for her to go there. And she came back and told us the first day it was all book work and stuff. And she said, hey, there's this one guy who wears a dress and, he thinks he's a girl. You can tell he's a guy. And it was just you know, confusing and frustrating all at the same time. The next morning, I was dropping her off. They were going to do the water portion of it, and she said, "What if he comes in, to the locker room, Dad?" I said, "Call me. Just excuse yourself and call me immediately." And throughout the day, I would just stop and pray. And it wasn't, before noon, I got a phone call and I knew what was going on immediately. And she said, "Dad, there's a biological male in the girls' bathroom." And I said, "Okay, well, what are they doing for you?" And, we went from there, and I got to talk to the manager and just try and sort things out. And I asked her if she wanted to go home. I said, "Hey, you want me to come pick you up?" And she said, "No, I want this. I want to finish my certificate. This
Mhm.
isn't, this isn't right." And so we kind of went on from there.
Okay.
And, one step at a time,
Isabel, kind of walk us through how did you feel? What did it look like in the bathroom area? Like, were the stalls separated to where nobody could see anybody else, or what was going on?
Absolutely, yeah. So we had just finished 4 hours in water schooling. It was me and four other girls between the ages of 15 and I believe 17. And so when you in the pool, there's a big glass door. It says youth locker rooms. Big and wide, youth locker rooms.
Mm.
And then when you go through, there's two doors. Girls locker, boys locker. Something like that, but I said girls and boys.
Mm.
And so me and the girls went in. We put our stuff in our lockers. We're rinsing off in our bathing suits. It's open stalls. I believe 5 on one side, 5 on the other, 2 feet spread between each stall, each head, I should say, shower head. And maybe 5 minutes in, we're all rinsing off. I was actually planning to wash my hair. And I'm rinsing off my hair, and he casually walks in and
To the youth
to the youth
girls
locker room.
locker.
Girls locker room. Yes.
Youth locker room.
Not even just female.
The girls specifically locker room. Youth
yeah, he
locker
doesn't even
room.
belong in the boys' locker room.
That's right.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, he doesn't even belong in the boys' locker room, so why would you go ahead and allow yourself into the girls' locker room? Thank you,
So
Jesus.
you're rinsing your hair, you see
And
a
then-
male walk in.
Yeah, so he's in a one piece. He has a beard, mind you. He has
Women's suit.
one piece women's suit. He has a beard. You can clearly see his genitals hanging through his swimsuit. And he walks past, and he's holding his stuff like kind of like all meek and like a little girl. And he's like, "Hey guys!" And then he walks to his locker and comes right next to me, and he's just watching me rinse off my hair.
Like in the men's stalls, I'm cutting in.
No,
But
that's
if there's
okay.
an empty 2 spaces, I'm going to that empty one.
Right.
Just feels comfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like he was
He was purposely trying to, and I just. So yeah, I turned around when he came to me because I was facing the other shower stall, rinsing off my hair. I remember feeling furious, but I remember feeling like I didn't have a voice. I immediately felt like my rights were absolutely stripped from me, like handed over on a silver platter to this 26-year-old guy. And
there was confusion.
I can't explain it. I can't say like I was confused and stuff like that because that doesn't even there's no words.
I would imagine that there would have to be a mixture of fear, anger. I mean, just from a father's perspective, if
Yeah.
a man walked in on my daughter, I can imagine what I felt. We'll talk about that, Dad, Mom. Your perspective, but I'm sure that on your all's faces, he would have to see or sense the emotion of fear.
You would think
did he
that
respond in any way?
he just acted like he belonged there, like that was his place. And I remember when he came into that stall, I just continued rinsing my hair out. I guess I was in shock. I wanted to leave, but I guess I was just like, I was in shock. And I remember he said to me, he was looking at me, and he was like, I wish I could rinse my hair off like you. He had like shoulder length hair, and I'm like, what is stopping you from doing so? Like, why are you talking?
It's like he just wanted to feel comfortable talking
Like,
to you, or have you see if you would be comfortable talking to him.
Yeah, exactly. And I just like, I kind of just nodded my head and just continued on, and he just continued on the hair topic with the other girls. Finally, he ended up leaving and like leaving to his stall or whatever. I remember he was like rinsing off his body like a girl, like rinsing up his hair like a girl, rinsing off his body, and then he was kind of like working his way down towards his genitals. Cause I had turned around when he spoke to me, and then I turned back around because it's like I didn't want to see that. I wanted to be out of there. He ended up leaving to his stall, and so that's when I went to walk to mine because I was gonna grab my clothes. I was drenched, and so I didn't exactly want to walk out into the hall yet. I was in absolute shock. Like, there's no doubt about that.
You don't even know what to do.
And so I knew in my head, I was like, okay, one step at a time. Let me at least get dressed. And I remember I was about to walk through it, and then I see him coming towards me in a towel, naked. And I know he was naked because he didn't have like the shoulder straps for his one piece. He was wrapped in a towel like a woman would. And I think about it now, and I realized it last week, actually, when we were talking about it again. He had nothing left, because the shower stalls were empty. The other girls were in there, though. I was like, I wonder what he was doing. And I remember he was walking directly towards me, and I remember having to, he was looking past me, but he was walking towards me. And I remember having to, go around him so far in a sense because I had to kind of rub against the bathroom stalls.
Squeeze between him
and the stall.
and the
Yeah.
stall, yeah.
So immediately I go to my stall. I put my stuff in there and I grab my clothes, and there's 3 bathroom stalls. I apologize. 3 bathroom stalls in that gap. Kind of small, pretty small, and 2 of the doors didn't work. There was only 1 stall where the door worked, so I went into that one, of course. And I'm trying to change as quick as I can. I don't know where this guy is anymore. I don't know if he's still in the stall. I don't know if he's somewhere else.
You don't know if he's a predator. You don't know.
I don't know
if he's violent. You don't know what he's gonna do.
And
Guy in the girls' bathroom.
so I made my way into the bathroom stall. I'm trying to change, and I remember I can hear him talking to the girls about music. And I remember thinking in the back of my mind, because you see all these cases of men pretending to be transgender or going into locker rooms or bathrooms without even looking at a girl whatsoever and saying, I'm a girl, blah, blah, blah. And then these cases of them getting raped or sexually harassed or whatnot.
I remember when you first mentioned it, you were crying and you were like, Mom, I was scared. I was scared that that guy was going to do something to me because he stood so close to me. And she knows about my family history. So I remember when that all occurred, she was thinking about my family history with rape. And she was like, I didn't know if this guy was just going to do something to me, to any of us. And so I recall you saying that you were scared of that.
So after this initial encounter, did you immediately talk to somebody at the YMCA, or were you going to your mom and your dad to try and process what had just happened?
Yeah, I still had my wet clothes in my hand. I remember just dropping it on the, I didn't care to put it in my locker. I just dropped it on the bench and walked out. I went to the front desk, and I remember the lady who works front desk, she was talking to some guy who I had seen him there working out before, the first day I was there. They were talking about something, and I walked up. I kind of just waited my turn. I was kind of shaking everything. And she paused him for a second, and she was like, hi, how may I help you? And I'm like, there's a man who thinks he is a girl, a woman in the girls' locker room. And she kind of just like stood there shocked with like her mouth partially open. And this grown man who she's talking to kind of chuckles. He's like, "Oh, you should probably go deal with that," and walks away. And I'm thinking, because I have lots of girlfriends, of course, and I know their dads would have walked straight in there and like, oh my goodness, it's like,
There's like a brainwashing going on of, well, maybe that's okay.
So did anybody go to the bathroom from the
nobody
podcast?
went to the bathroom. What they did was the lady took me and sat me down on a bench in front of a hallway, which led to like the offices of all the managers and everything. And she said, "Wait right here. I'm gonna go get the manager." And then he comes over, like I said, new guy, and
This is the director of the Louisville YMCA.
Okay.
He's been with the YMCA for quite some time from what I researched. And
but he was
He
new to
said-
New
that
to
particular
Louisville, but he's been there for a
YMCA.
while.
he was the new director of Louisville. And he said he had no idea what to do in this situation.
Mhm.
So he called the vice president of operations, Jennifer Anderson, and she tells him, well, you have to follow the Ohio law.
So I remember he was like, "Hi, I am so sorry about this." And he walks me into his office with him, and he's like, he said something on the lines of, "So I understand that you said that there is a man in the girls' locker room." And immediately I just interrupted him. I'm like, "Can I please call my dad?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." And so I called my dad.
I picked up and you said, "Dad, there's a biological male in the girls' locker room." I said, "Okay." And I asked if you were okay. And I asked if you'd said that the manager had given you some information. So I asked if I could speak to him because he was right there. So talked to the manager for a second, and he said, "We don't know what to do in this situation. We're trying to work it out. I'm new here." I said, "Okay. Well, what are we going to do in the process? Is he still in there?"
That's what I've been thinking this whole time. Is he still in? As far as he knows, there's still a bunch of girls in there with a guy that he doesn't know what he's going to do.
Mhm.
How about somebody go in there?
And just at the baseline of this, where my mind still can't get past, is that this was a youth showering facility.
Shower.
Youth, like at
First
the
off-
very least, this doesn't have anything to do with the transgender issue at this
Mhm.
point. There is an adult in a child's
Like, I
space.
can't go in
You
the
can
youth
deal with
one.
that.
Yeah, that's your policy.
Boys' room and shower,
Right.
So what? Why are we letting an older whatever go into the youth girls' bathroom?
Right.
But yeah, I asked. I said, "Is he still in there?" He said, "I think he said no."
I
But
said,
then
I
I
told him
asked-
I don't know, because I remember him asking me. I said, "I don't know. I just walked out."
Yeah. And so I asked him, what do we do in this situation? What can you do for my daughter? And he said, "Well, we can have her go to the family locker room." And
There was a lot of confusion.
yeah, I'm
A
like,
lot.
wait,
I
Too
told him,
much
out of
for a facility like
out
that.
of 6 girls that are supposed to be there, you're gonna take one of the girls out instead of the odd man out. Let's
Mhm.
get him out of there and put him in a family locker room.
Right.
Or
Wasn't that part of the Xenia story where they said if you're not comfortable, then you use the family room instead
Very,
of make
very similar. They're
Gosh.
awkward, not knowing what to do at the counter. Absolutely no regard for the safety of the children who are in this facility. And again, to those who are listening, we're not making the statement here at CCV that everyone who claims to be transgender is a predator. But because of the law in the state of Ohio, any predator can take advantage of the law to access children. And that's
Yes.
Yeah.
exactly what we're seeing here. And again, when when you look at the Xenia case, where we know that this guy assaulted a young lady at another YMCA, and then in this case where he chooses not to use an adult facility, whether it's male or female, he chooses a child's,
right.
a children's, young girls facility. That is predatory behavior in and of itself. And nobody seemed to be concerned about that. We just don't want to offend, the alphabet mafia.
Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly. That's how it felt.
Yeah. So you're have the conversation with the director. Seems like it was not resolved clearly in any satisfactory way. So What's your next step at that point as you huddle up as a family and discuss the events of the day? Where does the conversation go? Where do your heads go?
Heads were all over the place for a while. I mean, we just wanted to, rally up the troops and get everybody to picket the front of the YMCA and, everybody ban the Louisville YMCA and take out your accounts, and dads stand up for your daughters. And it was just confusing for a couple days. We were asking people for, prayers and who to call, and just making like the best emails we could and sending them out to politicians and waiting for response. My brother, he gave us a tip on, getting some Christian attorneys and stuff like that. So if you want to take away with that.
Yeah, like Esther, like, from a mother's perspective, and again, you shared a little bit about your background. How did you feel when, right now I'm looking at, Isabel, she's strong, young lady, articulate. But I imagine that probably wasn't the Isabel that called you. It was probably more of afraid Isabel. How did that make you feel that your daughter just experienced something like that?
I went and picked her up from the Y. She finished, day 2. And she comes out, Isabel, okay, in YMCA. And we got in the car. I said, "You doing all right?" "Yeah." And I had her brother with us also. So we stopped by the grocery store on the way home, and I just picked up some treats. And I was like, this, chocolate covered pretzels, little things will help. Okay. So I get back in the car and I said, "You want one of these?" Because I could tell she was out of it. And there was penis and balls, and I couldn't do anything about it. If this was 25 years ago, 50 years ago, that person would be locked up in jail. They're nuts, and there's nothing I can do about it. And she was bawling, and I started bawling, and I just hugged her. I was just bawling because you start to realize there's nothing you could have done about it. This happened. It already happened. What do we do? And we're just crying, and I'm praying, and I said, "We're going to fight. We're going to fight, Isabel. We're going to do this. We're going to fight."
You guys got home.
Yeah.
And Isabel, I'm going to school, so I'm sitting at the table doing homework and waiting for them to arrive. And you read it on social media. You see the effects that occurs in other families.
Yes.
And yeah, it's an issue. You don't feel it. You don't sense it until it happens to you. And so I was in shock. I embraced her. She started crying. She started saying, "It's not right. My rights were taken away from me. The other girls' rights were taken away from them." The girls did not, they told Isabel, or she overheard and she went to them, from what I recalled you
It
had
was the
said,
last day.
that they didn't know if this was a boy, or a man, or a woman. These are young ladies, 15 to 18 and 17 years old. They had no idea. Like, how can you not see
It was very noticeable.
the private areas?
I mean,
And then-
but even everything else.
Yeah.
She ended up texting them, trying to see what was their experience. There was one girl, a tiny, from what you said, obviously you can go over that, but they didn't want to share. They didn't want to express anything. They said they felt bad for him. And
They felt bad for him.
Well, because the one,
It was a reverse guilt trip.
sorry. So the two girls were in a class. I'm not gonna say which, so specifics don't get out. But they're in a class, and one of the kids in her class started, in her words, dogging, like burning this guy, whatever. The transgender, this dude, and she felt bad that he was doing that. And in a sense, I can understand, but also it's like, he was in the girls' locker room. How? Make that make sense, that you feel bad that your rights were taken away?
your privacy, your safety.
Like, if anything, the bathroom should at least be the safest place for any girl to be. Like, of course, a woman, but a
Right on.
girl, a minor. And we don't even have that as children.
It's insane.
So here we are, and I thank you for sharing both your perspectives as parents, because most people that hear about this issue, that's the first thing that goes through our minds is, what would I have done?
Mm-hmm.
How would I have felt? Here we are, like maybe 6 months down the line. Has anything been done since then to correct this situation so that other young ladies are,
At the YMCA,
don't have to be violated in that way? Yes.
nothing but a printed out piece of paper saying 18 and under. That's it.
So yeah, instead of it saying youth, and this was just that weekend. So I don't even know if it's still there because we're not members of the YMCA anymore. But it was just a printed out piece of paper on the door, 18 and under.
It wasn't even like girls only or boys only. It was just 18.
Well, they
and
can't
under.
say that.
Yeah.
Because
What's
they
a
don't.
boy?
Well,
What's a
they
girl?
choose not to say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they
They're
actually
their own
can say that.
private organization. They can make their own policies, and they refuse to.
But I guess Dad was saying, he's like, I guess they don't want to get sued or something. But
they're misinterpreting Title IX, which says that you cannot discriminate based on employment. What a lot of the left has done, including the leftist YMCAs now, what they have done is taken that ruling and applied it now to private spaces, which we are and have always been allowed to discriminate on the basis of sex in private spaces. And clearly in that case, it said that you cannot take this law that deals with employment and make that, apply to private spaces, because that's not what this. And so that's what you've experienced. Next to that, you have in the state of Ohio, you can change your sex marker on your state IDs and on your, driver's licenses. And so that puts the YMCAs in a conundrum as well, right? Because if somebody, I don't know if that was the case here, but if somebody in Xenia shows up, right, with Darren says that I'm a female and here's my ID, it says I'm a female, then that puts them in a bind there. And so there's a lot here that needs to be fixed. And with the bill, HB 249 addresses is specifically the ability for you all to be able to sue in any case that there was a male in the room and genitalia was exposed and there was indecent exposure. Now you can have a private right of action to sue that individual. And what that will do is create a downstream effect of, because of the liability being so high, now it's an insurance issue and a coverage issue. I am so sorry that you had to go through what you're going through. And again, you are a very strong, articulate young lady here, but as a father of 3 daughters, though I appreciate your strength today, my heart breaks for what you had experienced then. And it is our responsibility, Narrative family. It is our responsibility, Senate Judiciary Committee, Chairman Manning, Senate President McCulley, to do something about this situation. This is 2 that we know of that have had the courage to stand when apparently the other 4 did not. And they should have never had to.
Right.
But if we know of 2 courageous families, really 5 courageous families that have stepped up and said, this is what's going on in these 2 YMCAs, how much more is it going on in our big cities that are run by leftist policies? And as gross as this situation is, it is even more gross that we're dealing with politicians across the street who can't seem to do the right thing.
Right.
And they need to be removed. And if not removed, they need not to have chairman positions. And
a couple of things are really jumping out to me is that when you consider Xenia and Louisville, these are 2 what you would consider safer, smaller communities. Like the largely conservative rural areas in Ohio, and we're dealing with these issues there. And the other is when you see the way that the left will do their verbal gymnastics to try and make this stuff okay. On one hand, you've got the Believe All Women Me Too movement, and yet somehow they'll try and negate this testimony as, what you saw from the other girls in that locker room is somehow it's the man who's the victim in all this, which if we're not willing to protect our children, what are we doing? Right. What are we doing as a culture and as a society?
Right on.
Well, David, what's the call to action? I mean, you just gave a very clear and compelling argument for members of the committee and things like that. But
Yeah.
what do we need our listeners to take from this interview? What do we need them to do to get HB 249 across the line? How can they participate?
We've got several action alerts out there. As you know, Mike, you guys have done a great job in elevating this issue. You know, we've had folks calling their members, especially the members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, many of which are just, I mean, they're salt of the earth folks. But we've got a chairman that feels like he doesn't need to budge because he's in what they call a purple district, and so he gets to behave. You know, I don't know how you ignore this issue, whether you're on the right or the left, but surely when it comes to the gender ideology issues, the left tends not to stand with families there. And that's where he chooses to stand. He was the only, Senator Manning was the only Republican who voted against banning sex change procedures on children, just to give you an idea who we're dealing with. He is the highest rated Republican amongst the trans community in the state of Ohio. That's who we're dealing with. And guys like that don't move unless they're forced to move. And they tend to lie and conflate situations. We're going to march right across the street here after this podcast and knock on his door and make sure that he is very aware of the situation. Is not only going on in Xenia, because they met with him as well, but what's going on in Louisville. And so it's incumbent upon us, family, that we need to make sure that Senator Manning is getting your phone calls, that he's getting your emails, that Senate Judiciary Committee is getting phone calls and emails so that they can apply pressure from within the committee, as well as Senate President McCauley, who really, the buck really stops with him to say that this is important. This is a child safety issue, and we need to move on it. And I believe that is his heart to do. And so we just need to make sure that we give courage and encouragement to our members. And so you'll hear more as we go on, but the action alerts are out there. You can go to our website at ccv.org and check out that action alert. But also, how can we be praying for you all moving forward and maybe for families in your community that probably have to still deal with this?
More voices to come out. For you to talk about the other families in the community. When I would talk to any fathers, church, work areas, they all said the same thing. Well, I go to that YMCA. I didn't know that. Just, well, no, nobody knows until it happens to you. But like, just continue for prayer, for strength for you guys,
Courage.
for other instances, other people out there fighting for that strength and the courage, to get it out so that the other fathers know, the other mothers know, okay, this is going on. They don't have to experience it to find out that this is happening.
Right.
But
do something about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just continued prayer for safety and strength and wisdom.
Yeah, especially as you step out and allow your voice to be heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask, have you seen any kind of response from this stepping out and stepping more forward yet, or are you still relatively new bringing your story to the public eye?
Yeah, no.
Well, you're not going to win any popularity contests, in case you haven't noticed that.
That's how you know you're doing okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't think for support, I mean, we have shared this experience with other moms, and when he was working for ODOT, he shared it. There was support in that sense as, wow, I can't believe. But when it comes past that, it's harder, obviously.
And a lot of people ask, what can I do? I'm like, I don't.
Well, when I heard about the situation, I realized who your senator was, and I contacted her. Senator Temkin was very helpful in making sure that I got connected with you all, and I know that this was heartbreaking for her, and she wanted to make sure that we elevated this situation. So if they want to contact her office as well, it helps her when she advocates for you all to say, listen, this issue, I can't ignore it. People are contacting my office. We need to do something about this for my community, right? But if nobody has the courage to reach out, right? If it's just you all and me and us four or whatever, then it's harder for her to say, hey, this is a community-wide concern, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so they can contact her office as well.
Well, to the Henry family, thank you for sharing your story. I'm sure it's not easy to relive this and to have to go through the details again, but we are praying that this is one of those things that tips the scales and results in actual change around this issue. And we're thankful for your courage. Thank you for your faithfulness to the Lord in bringing these things to light. And we're so grateful that you took time to share with us today on The Narrative.